Alrighty, here are the answers for Wednesday's starters, and I figured out that I did not leave myself enough room to do the work up at the top, so I'm just going to work all of these out down below. So for number 5, we've got our chart, and we're using this table to write a proportion, and then we're solving for the variable, and we're showing our work. So for number 5, if you'll remember yesterday, we said that if you're writing from a table, you can just write a proportion where you have 2/6, and then on the other side we have 1/n, and that those two things are going to be equal. So we just cross multiply. So we do 2 times n, and I'm going to write it up here, is 2n. And then 6 times 1 is 6. And those two things are equal. And if you remember from when we did our unit on simple equations, we're going to split that equation. We have this means 2 times n equals 6. So we're doing the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing by 2. And whatever you do on one side of that equal sign, you have to do on the other. So we have 2 divided by 2 is just 1n, and we usually just write that as an n. And then 6 divided by 2 is 3. So n is equal to 3. And then we can check that. We just do 2/6 and 1, and we said that the n was 3. And then when you cross multiply, 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 times 1 is 6. So my n is equal to 3. For number 6, we have day 1 wins and races, and day 2 wins and races. And again, we can just set this up like it's a proportion. So we have W over 21. And then on this side, we have 8 over 12. And then we're just going to cross multiply. So we have 12 times W is 12W. And 21 times 8 is 168. And remember, when we cross multiply, these two things have to be equal. So 12 times whatever W is has to equal 168. And then we split that equation. This is 12 times W, so the opposite of multiplying by 12 is dividing by 12. And whatever you do on one side of the equation, you have to do on the other side of the equation. So 12 divided by 12 is just 1, and it's 1W, so we write it as just a W. And then 168 divided by 12 is 14. So W is equal to 14. Then we check that. So we're going to put, if I'm saying W equals 14, I'm going to put 14 in for the W over 21. And then on this side, 8 over 12. And then when I cross multiply, 14 times 12 is 168. And 21 times 8 is 168. So now I have the proportion where they're equal. So W is equal to 14. So I'm going to put 14 in for W. All right, then we've got the word problem. So we have the county requires 2 teachers for every 45 students. So we're doing 2 teachers. for every 45 students. And then it says write a proportion that gives the number T of teachers, which means I don't know how many teachers on this side, so I'm going to put a T, that's my variable, needed for 315 students. So if I have teachers on top on this side and students on the bottom on this side, I have to have teachers on top on this side and students on the bottom on this side. So then I cross multiply. So I do 315 times 2, and 315 times 2 is 630. And then I multiply 45 times T, that's 45 T. Those two things have to be equal if it's a proportion. So then I split it. I'm trying to get the T by itself, so I only want one T, not 45, so I have to divide by 45. And I have to divide by 45 on this side. So I have 630 divided by 45, which is 14. And then on the other side, I have 45 divided by 45, which is 1 T. So I just write it as 1 T. So the number of teachers that I need for 315 students is 14. And then I'm going to check that. So I have 2 over 45, and I have 14 over 315. If I multiply 2 times 315, I get 630. And if I multiply 45 times 14, I get 630, which means that I do have the right number of teachers, which is 14. So I have 14 teachers that I need.